Welcome in to K-State Online. I'm Mason Voth. That's Drew Galloway. We are here right next to each other in Bramlage Coliseum. So that's exciting. We're right here. Hopefully you can hear us. Jerome Tang doing his thing on radio right now with Wyatt and Stan. So we'll have that for the next little bit. But we're here recapping another K-State win. Since we started doing this, K-State has a winning record, 2-1 since we've gone live after games. So are we to be the reason for that? That's a great – okay, Drew says yes. That's a great question. Already got some questions in the comments. We will get to those. So if it looks like I'm not looking at you, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm reading stuff off of my computer. Just don't worry about that. So we'll get to everything we see in the comments. We'll give our thoughts about this game because it was a massive K-State win tonight as the Wildcats win 85-57 over Oklahoma State. Drew, I'll let you pop off your initial thoughts from K-State's comfortable victory over Oklahoma State that you pointed out. In bold predictions, I said I thought K-State would lead a majority of this game. I thought it would be similar to West Virginia, and I gave myself some wiggle room. I kind of lied. I was like, maybe there's a weird first 5 minutes and Oklahoma State has the lead at some point in there. You pointed out after the game, O-State never had the lead in this game, very similar to the game with West Virginia. The closest West Virginia had it, they tied it at 2, never looked back from there if you're K-State. So K-State dominant once again. They take care of a really bad opponent in a really big way. What'd you make of what the Cats did?
Yeah, this was honestly over in the first 5 minutes. I mean, K-State races out to a 10-0 lead before 3 minutes have gone by. And then after that, it was just off to the races. Like, you could immediately tell that K-State was really locked in and that Oklahoma State is just not a very good basketball team. Like, we said that we thought that K-State could win this game by 10-12. I didn't really think that this would be closer to a 30-point win than even a 10-point win. So getting to see that, I think, was nice. And you're kind of getting to see kind of that K-State has turned a corner. Like, I hesitate to say it a lot, but I think that you can tell in this last three weeks now, last 2.5 weeks, that they're really starting to turn the corner, and I've been really locked in. And I think that some of it starts on the defensive end. But again, this is another game, 3 straight games where K-State has shot the ball really well, 52% from 3 tonight. And that was kind of before shots kind of got wild in the last 4 or 5 minutes where guys were just kind of getting shots up. So I think that it's a good thing to see K-State really run Oklahoma State out of the gym, because, I mean, this is a team that beat K-State and Stillwater. And to really see them come together like this, it gives you more hope for Saturday. Like, I'm not going to say that K-State's going to win Saturday, but this is something that makes you feel like that game will probably be closer than a lot of people are anticipating.
Yeah, it gives me encouragement that K-State's going to show up and fight on Saturday with Iowa State, and that's really all you could ask for. Don't show up and get completely embarrassed. But this team is also now playing to some other different standards. Like, we wanted to see encouragement for next season from this team. You're getting that right now. Let's start with Ron's question. Has Doug bought in, or is he playing to raise his stock to transfer next season? I think Doug's bought in, and I think that we've all been talking about it. I think KSU fan brought it up even before we were ready to seriously consider it, but he was of the mindset, do you want to try and keep Doug? Like, should that be a goal? And now we've seen over the last handful of games, I do think Doug McDaniel's buy-in is there a little bit more. It's not just that he's playing better, but I think he's playing better because he's bought in. We're seeing the hustle stuff too. I mean, he made some hustle plays tonight. He's been engaged on all ends of the floor. I noticed on Saturday, he was just a much more active listener when Jerome Tang was trying to coach him. And I think that when Jerome Tang has players that open themselves up to be coached by him, I still think Jerome Tang is a very good basketball coach. So that should give you some hope and thought moving forward with this. So I think Doug is in. I think that he is, as of now, going to be a piece next year that they retain and go on from here. Now, obviously, Doug McDaniel has to feel that way, but I would imagine if Doug didn't feel that way, we would not be seeing him play the way that he is right now. It would look a lot more like the guy that wasn't getting on the floor at various points throughout the season, or the guy that was really a zero on offense.
I would venture to say even that if there was even a thought of like Doug McDaniel doing this to raise his transfer status for next season, I don't think that he'd be seeing the floor right now.
Yeah, I agree. Also, if you're like, one mic, what's your guys' problem?
Yeah, I think that K-State can definitely beat Kansas in Bramlage. This is one of the most vulnerable KU teams. Again, we said that last year, that this was one of the most vulnerable KU teams, but this one is even more vulnerable. They probably should have lost last night in Allen Fieldhouse to UCF. They've really been struggling on the road as well. This version of K-State can beat almost anybody. Like, the version that has played these last 3 weeks can play toe-to-toe with anybody. And that's why DY posted it, and I've thought about it too, of if I am one of the top teams in the Big 12 right now, playing at K-State is probably the last place that I would want to be playing right now, because there is talent there, and you're kind of seeing it all kind of come together. It is a little bit too little too late, but you're seeing it all kind of come together, which is really fun. And I think that K-State can win against KU and Bramlage. I think that K-State can win against Arizona State. There is a realistic scenario where K-State wins 5 of their last 6, if you count Saturday's win over West Virginia, 1 today, probably going to lose Saturday in Ames, but could beat Arizona State, beat KU at home, and then beat Arizona at home in the midweek the following week on February 11th. So you kind of look at that as like, there is a lot of basketball in front of K-State right now where we've joked about it, but get 8th place and have that first bye in the Big 12 tournament. And it's right there for the taking, because the Big 12 this year in the middle is kind of just a mess. Like there are no team that is significantly better than another. Like Utah is a team that K-State can catch. They've already beat West Virginia. Like UCF is in that middle bunch. There are a lot of teams in that middle that K-State can catch by playing good basketball, and especially just winning games at home. But you look at that, to get to 8th, though, you probably have to win at Utah or at BYU, or maybe both.
Yeah. Well, I like what you say about, that there are going to be good teams in the Big 12 that K-State is playing like a team right now that they don't want to play. And you think about the teams at the top of the league. Yes, Houston is already gone, and so is Texas Tech, who, the way they're playing right now, they're also towards the top of the Big 12. But Arizona still has to come to Bramlage. Iowa State still has to come to Bramlage, and obviously KU still has to come to Bramlage. So you don't want that. We talked about the bad teams left. K-State plays Arizona State twice. I think K-State and Arizona State are very similar teams in the way that they're playing. K-State might have the leg up because I think there's more experience on this K-State team, and they maybe even have a few more guys that you trust to make some plays. Colorado is the world's worst basketball team. Believe it or not, the team you watch tonight wearing black and orange, there's a team worse than them in the Big 12, and they wear black and gold. That would be the 0-9 Colorado Buffaloes, who I've been saying it ever since I watched them against BYU. If they're still playing hard for Tad Boyle, that is one bad basketball team. They are atrocious. So the opportunity is going to be there for K-State to pick up some more wins, and we'll see where that gets them right now. I mean, they're only a game out of being in that 8th spot. Now it's a big tie, so there's going to be a lot of tiebreakers that play into it. But you look at the teams that are ahead of them, they still play Utah. They still play UCF. They still play Arizona State twice. They still play Cincinnati, who's in that mix. They still play Colorado, who's down there. And, Cincinnati's a road game. Arizona State has a road game. Utah and UCF also road games too. So that goes to your winnable road game situation that we mentioned earlier. We'll see how that ends up working out. So some other thoughts, big picture before we dive into this game. Specifically, Calico Willie says, not to jinx it, can this team make a run in the Big 12 tournament with the way we are playing right now? We kind of already touched on it, but I think the answer is yes. This is kind of what you tell yourself with some of these teams is, on the high end, can you still show up and make some noise? And that gives you the best path. I unfortunately had to spend 2 years working in radio in Wichita, so I had to cover Wichita State more than I ever wanted to in my life. But I would always make the pitch that, look, you thought this Wichita State team was supposed to be good. Not the first year under Isaac Brown when they won the AAC regular season, but the following year they brought back a lot of the same pieces. Tyson Etienne was still there. You thought maybe he could take a game over, and I tried making the case. Yeah, this isn't a good basketball team. They struggled this year, but there is the chance that you get them to kind of pop out and be what you expected or wanted them to be at an earlier point in the season. That's the kind of the thinking with this K-State team right now is we thought they were going to be a good team early in the year. A lot of people did. It wasn't just us. There were national people that thought K-State was a fringe top 25 team, certainly was going to be an NCAA tournament team. So the opportunity would be there, and it makes it a lot easier if it's 4 games in 4 days, because not many can do the 5-5, and 4-4 is already tough enough. So depending on the draw you get, I think it's a possibility. I think a lot of teams, as we've found out, have a tough time beating Houston. And there you would the path there would be avoid Houston and hope that somebody else got them for you. But outside of that, like this K-State team, they can beat about anybody else in the league, especially if you're in Kansas City, you pick up some of that momentum. And if by night number 3 you're playing, then people will be bought in and you'll have a crowd advantage there, unless you're playing Iowa State probably. But I think you could even get Iowa State. So, I think a run's possible. But I'll let Drew give his thoughts on how you would build that out, what you think the chances of that would be.
If we're saying what the chances of it are, you probably actually want to get better than 8th to avoid Houston. So you're kind of trying to build out a path to where you don't play Houston early, because I think that
Or be worse than 8.
Yes, or be worse than 8.
That
But
might be more realistic.
you kind of look at everybody at the top outside of Houston, like you think that a lot of those teams are at least somewhat beatable. Like KU is beatable, Iowa State's beatable, Texas Tech is beatable. Houston, until they lose a game, it's going to be tough for them to really think that they are a beatable team in Kansas City, because it's not like they're just beating teams. Like, they're beating the crap out of a lot of these teams that they play in Big 12. I think that they're 9-0 right now and only have 2 non-double-digit wins in conference. So I think that they're the class of the league right now. So your path is to really avoid Houston and then just see what you can do, because, again, this K-State team can beat almost anybody, but it needs to take a step. You've done this now 2 games in a row where you've really just manhandled a team. What can you do on the road in the toughest environment in the Big 12 in Ames on Saturday? Because that will really be when you've seen it. Has K-State really taken that next step and turning the corner? But I think that it'll be a close game on Saturday, and probably a lot closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'll be interested to see what the line looks like when it comes out. Obviously, I think there have been some people recently that have maybe been a little bit surprised by K-State was favored against West Virginia, and then obviously went well here.
K-State is winning more than 10 games because they have 9 wins already. They're not losing out.
Good point. Very, very good point. Now, it is, unless Zach, who asked that, unless you're thinking Big 12, yeah, I don't think 10.
That would require them to go 9-1 the rest of the way.
That would. Well, they already have 3 Big 12 wins.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
it requires 7-3 the rest.
Come on, math it up, Drew. Yeah, I mean that they'll get to 10 regular season overall. Conference, there are a lot of winnable games there, but I don't know that they're going to win 7 of them. Even an average team, I don't know, wins 7 of these games. So we'll see. Also, I just want to make a statement real quick because of how it looks on the computer. Our faces are not that red in person right now. I'm looking at Drew. He is not that red. So I don't want you guys thinking that.
Well, it's just hot in here.
Yeah, just really hot. Cats turned up the heat tonight, which leads us into this, Drew. Let's talk about things that actually took place in this game. And let's start with probably the question that a lot of people are thinking. The legendary Dick Nossman, whose jersey is hanging in the rafters right now, says, I know Okie Light sucks big time, but how in the world is this the same team that lost to them by double digits in front of 17 people in Stillwater? I can't find a lie in anything that was written there. It is tough to kind of consider, but you think about that time, the team that we thought could maybe just totally shut down this season, they were in a little period there where I think they thought that they were saving their season after they beat Cincinnati. They almost had that win in Fort Worth. And so I think having to go from Fort Worth to Stillwater and the way they lost at TCU, I think that just broke them. And you got a broken K-State team there for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that they really got a broken K-State team there. And don't forget that I hate bringing up like kind of this excuse, but K-State wasn't able to go home after they played that game against TCU. And I think that kind of threw everything in to be a little bit wonky. But also, like, Oklahoma State gets 27 points from Osman, and in that first meeting, he doesn't score tonight. He has never scored more than 20 in a game at a power conference school, and did it in that game. So there was just a lot of things that were really bad that Oklahoma State game. K-State had 19 turnovers the first time they played, had 14 tonight, but when you shoot 52% from 3 and 52% from the field, it doesn't matter. But when you do it in Stillwater and you only shoot 3 of 14 from 3, it's going to get you.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, take a look. Tonight, O State turns it over 21 times themselves, so you have that. But I thought this at the time, and they were playing bad, so it's not like that was the only reason why they lost. But K-State shot 21% from 3 in that game. O State shot 43%. And I wrote about it in bold predictions today. I thought K-State was going to be at least 10% better from 3 tonight than Oklahoma State, just because of, yes, there needed to be those teams coming a little bit closer together. But also on top of that, that's just not who Oklahoma State is. K-State was getting better looks, and we saw that kind of bear out tonight. K-State ends up being I can put the big numbers up there again so everybody can see them. But K-State ends up 52% from 3 tonight. O State was 32%, so pretty close to average for Oklahoma State. K-State obviously on a bit of a higher end than what you would normally think of, but still they shot it well. Brendan Hazen was probably the best example of this, and almost to a fault, but the shot selection was a lot better tonight for K-State from three and from a lot of other places. But you see that because Hazen goes 5 of 5 from three. He looked good. Nothing seemed very rushed by him. Other guys, for the most part, seemed very under control with their shot. That all came closer together. And I think this team did finally have that realization of we're good basketball players. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be, having Mason Voth talk about us like we're Colorado in the middle of the season. So I think they kind of had that wake-up call. We saw them after the Houston game, another just butt kicking that they took. They battled with Texas Tech, could have beat the Red Raiders here, and then said, all right, we got to get this locked in. They played Kansas as tight as any team in my life has since, Svi traveled for Kansas in a victory. And then there goes Mitch Fortner, PA voice of Bramlage Coliseum. And then so they had it close there. They go on the road to Waco. You can't blow that. And I think that was to them, just as the TCU game was the way that the final straw in a bad way. I think them falling apart and losing the game in Waco, they were getting close, and they said, we're not letting this happen again. And they came through, and they did it in a big way. And now I think that's how this thing gets turned around. We're seeing a K-State team closer to what they should have been. They're never going to reach the stage that I expected them to be, or really I still think that they should have gotten to. But this team, I think, moving forward, most nights you can expect the level of fight that you want to get from them, and it is a different team now moving forward. Drew, I'll let you handle this next question from Parker. Live reaction to Coleman's 360 no-scope, because there were a lot of holy cow moments in this game in just hilarious ways. That was easily the top one, and probably my favorite shot we're going to see in college basketball this year.
Yeah, I think that our live reaction was just everybody was laughing, because that's like the shot that goes in when you know that it's your night. Like, when you get a shot like that, you know that you're feeling good about how the rest of the game is going to go. And even to a certain extent, when Moby Ike Garuka gets 3 dunks in a game, you just know that things are going really well. But yeah, that Coleman Hawkins shot, I think, will be the shot of the season. Poor Steve Lutz got the worst end of that, because he had to have said something when that Hawkins shot went up for Hawkins to immediately turn and point at him.
Well, you saw Steve Lutz's reaction. It was like everybody else. For a moment, he had there's no way. You've got to be kidding me. And then he was like, oh, crap, I'm the head coach of this team. We got to flip this thing around. Like, he was immediately like telling guys to get back on defense. But, yeah, I think that was one of those things where I think Coleman Hawkins deserves credit for it too. Like, most guys would just throw that up. It won't even come close. I do think that there is a level to this of, again, you don't make the shot most of the time, or really any of the time. But Coleman Hawkins is a guy that is pretty aware of what's going on the court. I think he had a pretty good awareness of where he was in relation to the rim, and that kind of helped him there and throwing that up. But it was a hilarious shot, very fun.
By the way, we haven't really talked about it and touched on it a lot. Coleman Hawkins deserves a lot of credit for just how he played tonight. 15 points, had 9 rebounds and 6 assists. Like,
other way, yeah, yes.
Yeah, that is a pretty good stat line for Coleman Hawkins. And again, as KSU_fan pointed it out, most likely person to get K-State triple-double in his lifetime.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Marquise Noel came close. It still seems like it's going to happen at some point for Coleman Hawkins. But, yeah, he had a big night. It worked out really well for him. Doug McDaniel, we talked about, had a good night, and we kind of touched on that early on, one of the first questions on, is there a marriage that's going to continue into next year? I think it is. He had 10 points tonight and a 6-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Max Jones knocked down some shots. He was a little turnover happy, but that'll happen. And then obviously the K-State defense, they were, I think relentless is the word to describe how they played tonight. It was just nonstop, and it was going to continuously be giving Oklahoma State trouble. I mean, every turnover you just go, man, that's another one. And it wasn't, some of it was Oklahoma State just not being good, but there was a lot of it where K-State was just active the entire night. And at no point did it seem like they just said, oh, we're going to win this thing. Like, I think there was a possibility coming out of halftime that they could have let O State get back in that, trim that thing down a little bit. And they never really afforded them that opportunity. So overall, really impressed with the effort K-State put forward tonight. And K-State fans should be pleased with the team that you're seeing now. It doesn't erase the pain, the frustration that should be there from how this season started. I mean, you look around, tonight makes you think, this team lost to Oklahoma State one time. This team lost to Wichita State. Like, how did that happen? That's for the end of the season reflection now. At this stage, it's time to move on and focus on what's happening right now, what could happen in the future. And this team is giving you a reason to watch them, to be fun. And basically, like we talked about, the rest of the season isn't just about trying to beat KU and Iowa State, but in terms of what you can do for your fans, like those are the two most important games left for your fans. And this team is building, I think, to make sure they're going to give every opportunity that they have to be able to beat those teams. Probably won't happen on Saturday in Ames, but certainly when Iowa State comes back to Manhattan at the end of the year with a chance to possibly win the Big 12 title, you could play spoiler in that role.
Yeah, pretty hilarious stat to show you how dominant K-State's defense was tonight against Oklahoma State. 14 players played for the Cowboys tonight. 11 had a turnover, and 2 of them that did not only played 2 minutes in the game. Also was pretty funny that K-State was up 20 with like 28 seconds to go in the first half and decided to press and force another turnover. Oklahoma State, 21 turnovers. K-State scored 28 points off of those turnovers and won the paint battle 36-30. Like, when K-State plays like this, they're going to win a lot of games. A lot of teams will win a lot of games when they play like this. The one real concern that I have going forward, just for this game at least, David Gasson and Ugo have to be better. Ugo was honestly not really playable in the first half. And then David Gasson just needs to be better and space the floor a little bit more. I felt like he was just kind of clunky out there tonight.
Which isn't a normal David Gasson thing, so I'm not overly concerned about him moving forward maybe, but the Ugo thing is concerning because we talk about, do you want Doug back? I think Ugo was a guy that was getting lumped into those conversations where you start to say, I think you would like to try and keep him, but we haven't seen the shot blocking that he had at Kentucky. I mean, he played some real minutes last year for Kentucky. Like, they used him as a legitimate player, and he hasn't seen those things translate tonight. He was absolutely atrocious on both ends of the floor. And that's really concerning that he couldn't up that. He and David Castillo, to me, kind of had similar nights where you're disappointed in what they gave you because you want both of those guys at this point in the season to be commanding more minutes from Jerome Tang. You don't want it to be a charity case thing or, hey, I got to get him out there. There was a time where that I was banging that drum for David Castillo. I think you needed to afford him that opportunity. And he was getting it, and it seemed like it was working out. But now over the last 3 games, really, David Castillo hasn't been much of a factor and hasn't deserved and earned that time on the floor. So you want to see him get to that point where he's doing it, and Ugo has to be in the exact same situation to go out there and make an impact and not be a detriment on the floor, because we'll get into this. We'll play the plus-minus game real quick, Drew, because everybody loves it. Again, not normally a stat that really matters. K-State wins tonight's game by 28 points is the final margin for K-State. Doug McDaniel led the team in plus-minus with 31. To me, that is a very indicative stat of how he played tonight. A lot of the other guys, 27, 26, 27, 28, that would be the other starters in the game. So Doug, Gasson, Jones, Hazen, and Hawkins. And then you look at everybody else that was out on the floor. C.J. Jones got 20 minutes, and he was at a perfect 0. Moby Ike-Garuka, that was 7 for him in 12 minutes, and we liked what we saw from him tonight. That honestly, a little better than what you would normally expect, but that's kind of the game that you should expect from Moby when he gets in. He's going to provide some energy. He's going to, not play a ton, but when he gets his opportunities, take advantage of them, but mostly give you energy, give you the minutes. But then you look elsewhere, David Castillo was 4. The concerning one is the fact that Ugo was -6 on that side of things tonight. And again, in a game that you win by 28 points, you play at least 15 minutes if you're Ugo. To be -6 when everybody else that played at least 15 minutes in this game outside of, was positive, And then on top of that, the only other one that didn't reach at least 26 positive was CJ Jones. That's concerning for Ugo. So we'll monitor that moving forward, because he was also one that it seemed like things were turning a corner and you needed him.
Yeah, especially after how Ugo played on Saturday, you thought that he'd come out and just be more efficient, more aggressive, and kind of figure out what everything else is going on. I see that there's more comments about Buddy Rich in the comments. He's not going to play the rest of the year, I don't think. Like when Jerome Tang said, was that after the Oklahoma State game? About when he talked about players not wanting to, or like if they weren't putting in good effort, that they shouldn't have a K-State uniform on. Like, it's clear that one of those guys that he was talking about was Buddy Rich. He hasn't played since that Oklahoma State game. Like, he isn't going to play the rest of the season if he's not playing in a 30-point loss to Houston and he's not playing in a 28-point win over Oklahoma State. It's pretty clear he's not going to play. And to be honest, if that is kind of how Buddy Rich was acting on the court, off the court, both, that's probably the right message to send. Yeah. Is if you don't want to be here, you're not going to play. And it apparently was clear that Buddy has made it known that he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, because you look around, so many other guys have come back from that type of situation this year. Doug McDaniel was in kind of that same spot, and he has redeemed himself in a way that he's getting a lot of minutes now. He's playing good basketball. Like, he's come back from it. And I think Buddy Rich is a guy that Jerome Tang is not just going to kick you to the curb in the middle of the season. So if you want to come back from it, you can come back from it with Jerome Tang. I think Achor is a guy that if he wanted to come back from it, he could have. But I think both sides just decided there is no coming back from this, and we don't want to come back from this. So, yeah, it's clear that Buddy Rich is why Buddy Rich is not playing, even if Jerome Tang is not going to say that. Garrett asked, do you think Buddy will transfer at the end of the year because he is not playing? Yeah, I think if he,
it's better for both sides to move on if he's not playing right now, because he is acting the way that he had been, apparently.
Yeah, and it's just it doesn't serve him any reason to stick around if he's not playing.
Want him to come back if he's been that bad.
Yeah, Taj Manning is not playing in a lot of games for just basketball reasons. Taj Manning currently doesn't give you as much as somebody else to be on the floor. But Taj Manning got in tonight. They like what Taj Manning gives them. And it's been apparent ever since Taj Manning got here. Taj Manning loves K-State, loves this staff, because if he didn't, then that's a guy that would look around and say, I could be getting minutes, at somewhere else. Not at the Power 4 level, but he could go find somewhere else. Like Dorian Finisher found a place at Sam Houston where he could get minutes. All of these guys have that ability. So I do think that it's just one of those where it'll come to an end after this year. And it's really disappointing on that front, because Buddy was the one freshman from last year that stuck around, when after last year you would have thought he might have had the best case to leave, because he played the least out of Data Ames and RJ Jones. And so you thought he was probably the best candidate. He stayed and had some flashes this year. I mean, that Wichita State game, you thought, hey, this is not who he is actually going to be, but there are elements to this that you could use, and he was getting the opportunity. I mean, you go look up into that O State game where he played 7 minutes. He got 11 minutes against TCU. He did exactly what Moby did tonight. It was 8 points, 2 boards. He was kind of your enforcer. He had 3 fouls in those 11 minutes, but that's okay. Every team needs that. I referenced them a lot. Shout out to Lauren Bowl on the 2015 Lady Crusaders. That was always Lauren, I don't want her to feel bad about this, but she gets in the game. She is tearing some people over. It's just 5 fouls and boom. That was a good effort on the night.
Stockard was that in his time at K-State.
So I do think that the Buddy Rich thing is clear, even if it's not being stated, because that's just Jerome Tang's not going to do that. He's not going to throw one of his players, a young guy, under the bus. And it's also not good for him and the staff to be doing that. Like, other players will see that and they'll go, oh, do I really want to go there? That if things go south, I'm going to get trashed? No. So I think both sides are handling it in a mature way, as in there's clearly something wrong there. Things are not improving, but they're not going to let it spill out publicly.
No, but it's also pretty clear when you look that almost everybody that could play, that they're not trying to redshirt like by fall, played tonight besides Buddy. And this is the second time that it's happened. So it's not just a one-off thing. Like, this is going to be, I don't think that we see him the rest of the season.
Yeah, certainly seems that way. All right, final call for questions, comments, concerns. I guess you got concerns, whatever you want to throw into the comments as we'll wind down here in just a little bit, since I do still have to get on the road to Wichita tonight. Wichita. I think that was from like a Pizza Hut commercial when they started delivering in Wichita, like in 2007 or something. Somebody could probably correct me on that, from Wichita. So final thoughts from K-State and their big win tonight, and what you expect moving forward from them, and just probably more so what your vibe right now with the season is. How do you look at this team? How do you feel about them? Because I think there are a lot of people that are probably struggling with, how should I feel about this team when I'm watching them? Do I watch? I mean, my youngest brother's a student here right now, and I asked him, I texted him tonight, I said, did you come to the game? And here is the words of what he said. Nope, we're watching here. I really don't want to go and get pissed. So that's what my brother said about the game tonight. So should people be coming to games, and are they going to get pissed?
If they play like this on Saturday, and like, they don't even have to win on Saturday, I think, for you to really still be bought in. But if they can keep that game relatively close and play with good effort, play with good energy, and more or less just act like they want to, be there for the most part, like, that is enough to, I think, get you going and play.
Great question.
This also is not an orange hoodie. Yeah. It's more tan.
Well, he said
I
nearly
think
orange. I would go peach. Maybe.
Yeah,
peach.
I had a Big 8 hoodie on earlier, but it's like 3 million degrees in Bramlage. But you can't wear the Big 8 hoodie when it's 3 million degrees in here, even though this is like the one time that you get to do it now.
Sure.
But yeah, it's more tan, I think, maybe peach.
There we go. Pop going off.
By fall isn't playing because I think they're just going to try and redshirt him. Dorian Finister found a way to redshirt after playing in a lot more games than By fall has. So I'd imagine that's kind of the situation there.
Yeah, I think that's where it goes with By fall. The fact that he hasn't played, and it doesn't seem like, everybody was getting minutes there for a little bit, and so we could see the tangible drop off from Buddy. That hasn't been there for By fall. Has he only played in the one game? What did we determine earlier?
By fall has played in, I think, 5 games. The last time he played was against Longwood. But we're not going to see him the rest of the way, because I think that they're going to try and redshirt him again. Dorian Finister somehow got one after playing in almost 10 games.
We should. I mean, we know that the rules should be changed, red shirt wise and everything, to reflect college football, where you can play. What did we decide? You get to play basically a third of the season right now. Like, you should be able to have that afforded to you in college basketball as well, but it's not. So that's why I question, why even play him and then go back through and think you can do this. I would rather just maybe know from the get-go, but I also understand maybe they wanted to see him early on, and if they have experience with kind of working the waivers, you get him out there, see what he can contribute to you.
Elite comment by Matthew. I also needed a Spencer Bain bucket. I wanted one extremely bad.
I mean, very selfish by his teammates to not get him a look, but good teammate move by Moby to pick up the foul to get him over 2 minutes of playing time in the game. Charles asks, do you think 10-10 gets them in the tournament? If they had not lost as many non-con games as they did, yes. I mean, if they had lost 4, maybe even 5 non-con, 10-10 would have gotten them in the realm of possibility with the right wins. They just completely torched this thing.
Everybody saw me do some live math there, trying to figure out how many wins that would have been in the regular season. That would be 16 and 14. Yeah, that's probably not getting in.
Yeah, it's probably not going to get you in. It's probably good enough for the NIT, like we talked about earlier, though. Great question here. This is in the vein of Bill Simmons naming the line. Cole Carmody asks, what is the spread Saturday, boys? You want to take a stab at this?
That's a great final question. I'll say Iowa State favored by 13.5. Bart Torvik has it at almost 16, so that even might feel low of 13.5.
that feels like cheating to go use one of the metrics like that, whether it was Bart Torvik or Ken Palm. 13.5, you said?
Yeah.
That seems about right. Based on the way K-State's playing right now, though, I'm gonna undercut you a touch, and I'm gonna go ahead and say 12.5. I think it's, in that realm that K-State's playing well enough right now. They might bring it down a little bit, but it's going to be a fascinating game, because even if K-State doesn't show up and just get completely outclassed, I do think that there's a world where they still lose that game by 15, 16, 17, because I think Iowa State is that good. They've dropped a little bit. It's tough for them without Milan Momcilovic, so you're missing a pretty big minute guy that can help you on offense. But they're great on offense. They're even better on defense. I thought that they were the best team in the Big 12 until Milan got hurt, and now it's clearly Houston, who hasn't lost a Big 12 basketball game since like the trip to Allen Fieldhouse last year.
No, I think they won that too. They've won 18 in a row now in Big 12 play. They're really freaking good. Kelvin Sampson is a very good coach.
Is he cheating? I don't know.
Probably.
He's not. That's a joke, people. We're not trying to, slander the great Kelvin Sampson, who now owns the Big 12. Let's see. The last Big 12 loss for Houston, and again, Big 12 tournament doesn't count to Iowa State. That only counts for Iowa State people. Their last loss in Big 12 play, it was at KU last year, 78-65.
It was in Houston was the last game.
Yeah.
By a million.
Yeah. So there you go. So that'll do it for us, I guess. We guessed the line. We talked about a lot of other stuff. We will be live again after the game come Saturday. I don't know who's going to be joining me yet. It could be Drew. It could be Fan. We'll see. Probably depends on the vibe in Hilton Coliseum. But we will be there. DY will be there as well.
DY made his return to Bramlage tonight.
Yeah, I just want everybody to be thinking of us on Saturday. I mean, it's not a fun drive to Ames, and then being in that building when there are going to be a bunch of big, tall Iowans juicy wiggling all over us. I'm nervous thinking about it right now. I don't want to deal with it. So here's the hoping that K-State holds off the wiggle on Saturday, or at least pushes it as late in the game as possible. That would be a win if I don't hear juicy wiggle until it happens at like the with 2 minutes to go or something.
Last year, I think the juicy wiggle didn't happen until the final media timeout.
Yeah, and then everything hit the fan, as we know. Let's hope that doesn't happen this weekend in Ames. For Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening to K-State Online. We will be back again tomorrow. We'll have more reaction to the Cats, everything else going on. We got a request for some purple hoodies next time from Charlie Hustle, so we'll see.
Tell Charlie Hustle to sponsor us.
Yeah, that's true. Because until they do, I'm going to keep wearing my Tiger Woods shirts. So Tiger
Woods also not a sponsor.
No, but my mother-in-law is. So shout out to her for being the best gift giver at Christmas time, knowing exactly what I want. She doesn't even have to ask. My mom, my grandma, my wife, they all have to ask, what do you want for Christmas? My mother-in-law just knows. She's like, Mason wants Tiger Woods golf shirts. And you're damn right, Janet. I do want Tiger Woods golf shirts. So thank you for that. Thanks for everybody watching. That's Drew. I'm Mason. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Probably get some football talk in. Yeah. Might as well. And we're still begging the Big 12. Let us know when you're letting that Big 12 football schedule come out. We want it. We need it.
Not going to get it till August 22nd.
Well, that's okay, because we only need to know what's happening on August 23rd, Drew, and that's the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland. You can get your tickets now through cats2ireland.com. That's going to get you your game tickets, exclusive welcome packages, great hospitality, airfare, all of that. Or for those of you Ahern Fund members, you can get single game tickets right now. We are approaching the moment where the public can get their single game tickets. You can find that info at KStateSports.com. I did that without the read in front of me. So
shout out to my family. They're getting their football tickets for the game in Ireland tomorrow.
Oh, from cats2ireland.com. Book it and cook it, baby. I wasn't going to do an ad read. We were going to be done, and then Drew set me up. I had to do it. I'm a company man, and that's about all I got. So we'll get out of here. Great way to end it. Great win for K-State tonight. The Cats take down the Cowboys 85-57 for their second straight Big 12 win. Now they hit the road for Farmageddon Part 1 on Saturday with Iowa State in Ames.